During this video, we'll look at the analysis tools for drainage. We have a set of tools that look at our surface from a drainage perspective. Those are titled the drainage tools. We'll look specifically at one that draws out our watersheds based on the surface terrain, one that analyzes ponding on our surface, as well as one that looks at water as it falls on the surface, where it might flow to based on the surface terrain. In the manual, we're going to start at page 1-38 and continue to the end at 1-40. Continuing with our same data set, the analysis data set, it's located under Data Geo Site DTM Analysis, and we have our base DGN and a site.tin. So I'm going to get into Power Civil and open up my CAD file, base.dgn. From my analysis tool palette that I access from my DTM tools, I'm going to access my drainage tool set. Again, this is a set of 12 tools that will look at this surface from a drainage perspective. So let me designate the surface that I'm interested in. So I'm going to select the tin file, click OK. And the first tool I want to look at is to delineate all watersheds. I'm going to toggle on display only. I'm going to toggle on refine watershed and set a minimum low point depth of 0.5. What this will do is it will ignore, so to speak, areas that are 0.5 or less in depth, low points that occur in an area of 0.5 or less. So basically false low points in my surface where maybe a few triangles form a small little area of 0.5 or less in depth, it will ignore that and go out to a larger basin. Display only means that when it draws these areas in the file, it won't draw them permanently. The watersheds, the areas themselves, will be drawn with the symbology shown in the dialog. Each area will be shaded a different color based on my color table. So go ahead and click apply and let the tool run, and you can see here that it's gone out there and found all the watersheds based on the surface triangles, and it's drawn a shape around each area. I can use these shapes or leverage these shapes with the Power Civil drainage program to create drainage areas and calculate the runoff. Since I did display only, I'm simply going to refresh my view or update my view, and those graphics are gone away. Another tool that's useful is the downstream trace. That allows me to data point somewhere on my surface, and from there it'll follow downhill or downstream to a low point or where the water would flow to. Again, I have the option to kind of ignore areas that are 0.5 or less in depth and continue on down. So I'll click apply and data point at any location on my surface, and it'll go from there to where the water flows to. So you can see here the water's all flowing down to the south. In certain areas, for example over here, you can see it creates a little shape there. That was that 0.5 depth. So when I data point there, I'm going to get back to that. When I data point there, it continues on down from there. So it filled up 0.5 and then continued on downstream to the next low point. You can also do upstream trace, which would go uphill from wherever you data point to the high point. We have a tool here that will go out there and draw the location. It will place a point where all the low points in each drainage area are, and that might be useful once you have your proposed surface. It'll be useful for locating inlets and catch basins to take the water. Next, I want to look at the surface ponds. This tool will go out there in my surface and will show me where water is ponding. So it will shade or draw an area wherever water is ponding. So I can see there's ponding up here, there's ponding in this area, and over here. So anywhere water might pond, no matter how deep that pond might be or how shallow. Now, to further investigate maybe a pond, I simply come into the next tool called Geopack Pond Analysis. This allows me to check, for example, what's the volume of this pond and the volume of water that's being held there. So I select that tool. It's going to give me a readout in either cubic feet, cubic yards, or acre feet. I click Apply, and I'll just data point somewhere to the north. Let me refresh the view real quick. So I'm going to data point to the north, and what it does is it does a downstream trace to where the water flows to, finds the low point, and then stops, and then it starts to calculate where the water will then overflow or overtop and flow to another low point. So in this case, this area represents where the water eventually spills over and flows further downhill somewhere, and then it stops and analyzes that. So it says I have 8,700 and such cubic feet, a surface area of 1,050 square yards, an elevation for the surface of the water at 83, and a depth of 2. And I can check each ponded area on my surface. So this is useful in doing quick analysis of ponds that you design into your surface. So in summary, the drainage tools, again, are to look at your surface from a drainage perspective, whether that's to go out there and automate the drawing of drainage areas for use with the Power Civil drainage program, whether it's to do a quick volume check of a pond as you design a pond through the terrain modeling software, or whether it's just to designate low points and high points or check water flow paths.